Anandji, Zubinji, Kinjalji, esteemed guests, representatives of Bombay Chartered Accountants Society and industry leaders, good evening to you all. It is a privilege to address this gathering of chartered accountants who stand at the forefront of financial discipline, integrity and market confidence in our country. In a world where capital markets are becoming increasingly dynamic, shaped by technological advancements, evolving regulations and global interdependencies, chartered accountants are playing a pivotal role in upholding the financial credibility and transparency in listed companies. In this pursuit, Bombay Chartered Accountants Society has been a torchbearer, not only in promoting technical excellence among CAs, but also in nurturing a values-based approach to financial reporting. The Society's continued investments in capacity building, research and policy dialogue has strengthened the profession from within. Today I would share my thoughts on the importance of corporate governance, the indispensable role chartered accountants play in ensuring that it is upheld in both letter and spirit, and the initiatives by SEBI to further strengthen governance standards across the listed companies. In today's business landscape, corporate governance is not a matter of choice, it's an imperative. It forms the bridge between a company's performance and the trust it earns from its stakeholders. Sound governance practices are central to sustaining investor confidence, ensuring board independence, and enabling effective oversight in listed companies. Chartered accountants play an important role in reinforcing the foundation of corporate governance within companies. Their work extends beyond financial reporting. They serve as vital enablers of transparency, compliance, and ethical conduct in the corporate structure. Indeed, chartered accountants serve as financial custodians of corporate India. You are stewards of trust, a trust that investors, regulators, lenders, and the public place in the financial statements of companies. By ensuring the accuracy and integrity of these statements, you help boards and audit committees make informed decisions based on reliable data. CAs support the establishment and monitoring of robust internal control systems, which are essential for preventing misstatements, fraud, and governance lapses. Transparency in disclosing related party transactions, managing conflicts of interest, and presenting material developments in a timely manner are all non-negotiable responsibilities you are entrusted with, and rightly so. Chartered accountants often serve as a bridge between company management, auditors, and regulators, ensuring that the principles of fairness, independence, and accountability are upheld in both spirit and practice. Your deep understanding of accounting standards, company law, and regulations places you in a unique position to guide boards and management on aligning corporate actions with the broader objectives of stakeholder protection and market confidence. You exercise professional judgment where the rules may not prescribe every scenario, and ensure that the decisions are ethically sound, not just legally compliant. Apart from acting as a first line of defense against financial irregularities, you have a critical responsibility to ensure that corporate governance is not reduced to a checklist. Let me take a moment to turn to the journey of corporate governance reform in India, which has been marked by a continuous evolution and strengthening of both regulatory framework and market practices. A significant milestone was the introduction of Clause 49 of Equity Listing Agreement in the year 2000, which brought formal governance standards into the Indian capital market landscape. Over the past 2 decades, this framework has been progressively deepened, particularly with the revision in the Companies Act 2013 and the codification of listing obligations under the SEBI LODR Regulations 2015. SEBI has adopted a hybrid approach towards the corporate governance framework, combining both rule-based and principle-based elements. While rules provide clear and enforceable expectations, principle guide listed entities to go beyond mere compliance and embrace the spirit of good governance. The LODR regulations lay down detailed requirements regarding the composition, independence, and responsibilities of boards and their committees, including audit, nomination and remuneration, and risk management committees. Yet our approach is not limited to structural mandates. The governance framework also articulates foundational principles that reflect the essence of what is expected from boards of listed companies. These principles encourage boards to do the right thing for the right reasons, ask the right questions without fear or favor, constructively challenge management and strategic assumptions, exercise sound judgment, and bring an independent, non-aligned perspective to decision making. The intent is to create a boardroom culture that discourages groupthink, promotes critical oversight, and aligns management decisions with long-term shareholder and stakeholder interests. Let me come to some of the SEBI measures in ensuring transparency and information symmetry. A well-functioning capital market thrives on transparency, trust, and equal access to information. Recognizing this, SEBI has established a robust disclosure framework for listed entities that ensures stakeholders, whether institutional or retail, are equipped with timely and reliable information to make informed decisions. To promote information symmetry, we have mandated periodic disclosure of critical financial and governance related information. These include quarterly financial results, shareholding patterns, compliance reports on corporate governance, statements on deviation or variation in the use of proceeds from public issues, rights issues, or preferential issues. These regular disclosures help investors assess the company's financial health, ownership structure, governance standards, and the fidelity of fund deployment as committed to the market. In addition to the periodic reporting, we have also introduced event-based disclosures to provide information with respect to the events that could materially affect a company's performance or valuation. Listed entities are obligated to disclose material events or information within clearly defined timelines. This timely dissemination ensures that all market participants, insiders and outsiders alike, receive access to material facts at the same time, preventing selective leaks or asymmetry in the availability of price-sensitive information. By embedding transparency into the core of market regulation, SEBI continues to drive the Indian capital markets towards higher standards of governance, accountability, and stakeholder trust. Transparency and timely dissemination of material information is the cornerstone of a fair and efficient capital market. However, instances of false, inadequate, misleading, or delayed disclosure by listed entities pose serious risks to information symmetry, investor protection, and market integrity. In past, we have observed some egregious behavior involving siphoning of funds, overstatement of profits, breakdown of internal control systems, and lack of effective board oversight in some companies. In response to such misconduct, SEBI has undertaken detailed investigations and forensic audits to assess potential violations of security laws and to hold these responsible to account. To this end, we have also initiated stringent enforcement actions, which include debarring entities from accessing the securities market, restraining individuals from holding positions as directors or key managerial personnel, imposing monetary penalties, and in appropriate cases, directing entities to return the siphoned funds along with interest to the affected listed company. Such action demonstrates our commitment to protecting investor interest and upholding regulatory discipline in the market. At the same time, it's also the shared responsibility of BCAS to reinforce peer-based accountability. To foster greater consistency in disclosure practices, SEBI has undertaken several regulatory reforms. One notable reform is the amendment to SEBI LODR regulations, introducing quantitative threshold for determining the materiality of events or information. This aims to reduce subjectivity and ensure that all entities follow a uniform objective approach in assessing which developments warrant disclosure to the market. We have also addressed governance challenges such as perpetuity of special rights and practice of permanent board seats. Listed companies are now required to seek shareholders' approval every 5 years for continuation of any special rights granted to a shareholder, and also for continuation of a director serving on the board beyond 5 years. These regulatory measures reflect our commitment to build a disclosure-driven, governance-focused and investor-centric market ecosystem that not only promotes fairness and transparency, but also enhances the credibility and resilience of India's capital markets. To simplify, let me come to some of the ease of doing business initiatives recently taken by us. To simplify regulatory compliance and support the dynamic business environment, SEBI has introduced several ease of doing business measures for listed entities. For instance, we have introduced single filing system for listed entities, which now eliminates the requirements of filing the same document across multiple exchanges. Recently, based on additional feedback received from various stakeholders, the RPT industry standards have been further reviewed and simplified. For ease, the standards have now been organized into different sections based on applicability to different types of RPTs, with significant reduction in line items. This is an example of optimum regulation where the interests of different stakeholders are reconciled in a balanced way. On the sustainability front, we have introduced greater flexibility in business responsibility and sustainability reporting, BRSR core. Listed companies can now opt for either assessment or assurance of BRSR core disclosures. Additionally, ESG disclosures for the value chain participants have been made voluntary and will apply from FY26, allowing time for companies to build capacity and align systems. Further easing compliance timelines, we have extended the disclosure window from board meeting outcomes. For meetings that conclude after trading hours, companies now have 3 hours, up from earlier 30 minutes, to disclose material outcomes. Listed entities are now no longer mandated to publish detailed financial results in newspapers, though they may continue to do so voluntarily. This move reflects a shift towards digitization and cost efficiency, reducing the compliance burden while ensuring information remains accessible through electronic platforms. Broadly, these measures reflect our aim to simplify compliance, enhance transparency, and encourage the use of technology. It will create a regulatory environment that supports growth, innovation, and long-term investor trust. And let me state here very candidly here that while we really want markets to do well, market integrity, we have emphasized disclosures. At the same time, we are also mindful that too much of information, too much of compliance adds to a big compliance burden, which may not actually serve the interests that we really intend to serve. In many cases, sometimes there's too much of information is put out. Sometimes that is actually much less effective than the information when it is given out in a very key form, because one can be drowned in data and that doesn't serve any purpose. So we would also like to see wherever we have possibility of do better results with less compliance, less information, less onerous responsibility, and less micromanagement on the part of regulator. We would really be welcoming any of those suggestions going forward. Let me conclude with a simple yet powerful message. The strength of capital markets lies in partnership and shared purpose. Market participants, regulators, companies, and investors are part of one ecosystem, working towards sustainable growth, trust, and accountability. We are all there because if India is there, if India's dynamism is there, India's growth is there, India's potentialities are done. We are not here to thwart. So therefore, it's very important to have really a very cooperative co-creation when every participant understands that, nice development, healthy development of the markets with everyone's putting their heads together is for everyone to benefit, all of us, as well as the people at large. In this journey, teamwork, technology, and transparency will be the key pillars of progress. When these are combined with professional ethics, trust, and a shared vision for excellence, we create a market environment that is inclusive, efficient, and future ready. Let us continue to work together, not just to meet regulatory standards, but to raise them, not just to tick compliance boxes, but to build institutions that inspire confidence across generations. Thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to your continued cooperation to the strength and credibility of India's financial markets. Thank you very much.
We can take a couple of questions. If anyone would like to ask something, then most welcome. We just have 2 questions we can take. Sharik bhai?
Sir, thank you for coming here, and my question relates to, you spoke about the element, one element is the investor, and investor service today, I think, at least in our country, has improved dramatically, especially with so much digitization. And if you can share, how SEBI promotes that service. I understand the whole regulation part, which makes it very robust. But there is an element of service when an investor goes to, say, a mutual fund, when an investor goes to any regulated entity for a service like, say, transmission or, one of those types. What are some of the, key initiatives which might be in the pipeline where this can become really ease when we hear the Prime Minister speak about, ease of living as well, and that probably falls into this component. I thought if you could share some of your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for this question. Very nice question. I think investors are the heart of the markets. I think the ecosystem that SEBI has spawned, and I think many people have contributed to that, in one sense is one of the most advanced and one of the best in the world. So I interact with several other regulators across the world. Recently, I was also in Qatar, Doha, for the annual board meetings. And it feels nice to hear that Indian capital markets, the technology, the systems are really some of the finest. I mean, people really want to emulate and want to learn how we did it. So if you really look at from the investor's point of view in terms of numbers, we have like kind of CJR we are growing with. We less than about 50 million in 2019. We are now, 130 million unique investors. And on top of it, we have got, if you really see mutual funds separately, where there'll be another 52 million mutual fund investors as well. What we want to grow to 400 million. So that is something which we need to, our market intermediaries, our participants, the way we are looking at India's story is reaching out to 400 million people. A lot of technological changes have happened, and I must also in this congratulate some of the very important organizations, tech industry which has come up, startups which have come up. Nikhil is there. Reaching out to amazing level of, down to almost every pin code of the country. And reaching out with this, taking care of as we have a new and newer generation, much more confident in its approach, much more, accepting of capital markets. The service industry has reached out to them in a measure which is not really actually seen before. And you are able to transact. So similarly, and every day there is an innovation going on in the capital markets. The market intermediaries, SEBI, MFI, if it comes to NME, we have got Brokers Forum. Every part of the system is dynamically organized in order to see how much I can do better in terms of providing service. Of course, we have a scores portal where we are able to get it, investors' grievances, this thing. But then we have many other things where we need to improve. For example, in case of IPEF, we are really struggling to find how the systems can be improved under the MCA. MCA is really very deeply involved, including with SEBI, how to, reach out for those where, you have a legacy problem, where there is death cases, where there are not physical certificates not available. So 7 years problem, more than after 7 years when the shares have moved up or dividends have moved up to IPF to claim it back in a better way. So there are different models that we want to really go for that, adopting it. Another issue is, of course, the cyber fraud, where we have to do a far more effective action. We are doing it, but we are also trying to do it far more, we have to do it far more effectively. 2 or 3 things that we have sort of working on. One is that valid UPI. Within the UPI, a subsystem of UPI which we have created, which is called @valid, where as we have said that we have put it out it will be from 1st of October, it will be effective. Till that time we will be able to allocate. So when you transfer the funds, you would be able to, like any investor trying to do, he will not be duped really. If he makes a UPI payment, he can always say that whether valid is coming or not. So only a securities market authorized bank account will only be able to show a UPI handle, which is a valid portal. Secondly, there will be also an app to do SEBI check, where you would be able to actually practically check any account and say whether it is a valid account where I can put the money as investors' money. Third, we are going to do a massive campaign along with every part of our institution on thematic basis on various issues which are plaguing the investor ecosystem, whether it is cyber fraud or is in responsible investing, because it's very important to also do responsible investing. We are discouraging individuals without having enough skills and others from the F&O market. Now, we are also saying that you have to have allocation of portfolio which is more balanced, suited to your needs, because it's not enough to really see that risk has to be according to what your risk appetite can do. Third, we are also saying that we should not have one size fits all approach to the different the people with different risk capability, because you may have a certain higher risk capability. In that case, we should have a different kind of a regulation which is not really so stringent as to stifle the innovation. So these are the various measures where we are saying from the investor angle, and there is a lot more, of course. I think we can talk about for hours on how we can actually make the investment safer and this thing. And mutual fund itself has provided enormous opportunity for the people to both active and passive investing, where the people can actually on long-term basis can have much better returns than what they so they don't have to really be actively trading themselves, and there are fund managers and others on their behalf. Incidentally, the mutual fund industry itself is highly regulated. I mean, subject to, of course, we do allow innovations, but we also do take care that the investors are properly protected in such cases.
Can you take one more? Yes, Nithin bhai.
Kishore Parikh. So I would like to know one thing regarding BRSR reporting. Now the assurance is becoming mandatory to the companies, slow by slow. Now that assurance is given by the chartered accountants, it is given by company secretaries, it is given by cost accountant also and other institutions. Now my question is only one, when any assurance is given, it is a non-financial matter. Financial NAFRA is there. Any regulatory body who will take care of this BRS reporting which is made by the company and assurance given. So there is a code of conduct for the Institute of Chartered Accountants is applicable as a professional ethics. Code of conduct is applicable to company secretary and others. But it is already permitted that other than this, other institution which is appointed by managing board can do also that. So what disciplinary action and code of conduct that SEBI has decided for those bodies who are giving the assurance where there is no proper regulatory body? So that is, I would like to know what action the SEBI is going to take on that.
I would say it was there only. I don't want to really get into the real details of what action taken in what case and whether there has been such kind of cases or not. But broadly, I think we really do take care that, you know, there is a uniform, when there is generally a level playing field in terms of, you know, the assurances, etc. When someone is there in one body, the idea of having a multiple kind of professions different is the very nature of BRSR. The BRSR itself is so complex, and it is coming from, you know, because as you say that, you know, it has different kind of parameters, and there are different kinds of agencies which are capable of doing it. What matters is that the standards, which are trustworthy standards, which are there, and they are, and so therefore, eventually there has to be a third-party reporting, which is third-party assessment, which is really credible, but it's a gradual movement. That means you are going from self-certification to something, depending upon what kind of compliance burden you are there, and when you are there into a third-party assessment, and obviously the different agencies which are doing it, they should really be following certain standards, not a differential standards. Yeah, so I mean, his question was on the debt capital market. While equity market has developed well, the debt market hasn't. I don't think that we should be able to give that way statement. Of course, I agree with you that not to that extent that it has developed. Now, if you really see that we, even on the corporate bond side, you know, the 50 lakh crore has been raised. So it's not that, you know, the debt markets are not functioning. You have a GSEC market and you have a corporate bond market. In corporate bond market, very uniquely, we have the EBP platform, which is an electronic bidding platform which is also quite unique, because normally the corporate bond market has been OTC kind of market in between the institutional players, and you place, it's a private placement, and you place your bonds there. But we are mandating that, you know, it has to be, the price discovery needs to be taken on the EBP. And the EBP has developed. Then we have that recently the online bond platforms. They have come and they have provided the liquidity, at least to people, even retail people, to come and pick up the bonds, which were earlier not possible for them to pick up. Now on the retail, on the GSEC direct side also, due to SEBI and RBI trying to work together, we've finalized the phase 1, where through brokers you would be able to actually take orders for the retail direct. And so therefore, instead of really for an individual to directly go and purchase, they can actually go through the brokers in the manner in which they were earlier going for equity markets also. So this particular pipelines have also been now worked out, and very soon that will also happen. Eventually, probably we will go to the exchanges as well, so that it can also be tradable in exchanges. Problem is that of the secondary market, and the secondary market means also that you should be able to, your ability to go in and go out, which is there in equity. Now, people don't understand bonds yet, at least at the retail level, because bond is more of a concept of holding as yield to maturity. It's a YTM product. So you hold to maturity, and but then in order to have a secondary liquidity in the market, there has to be tradability. For tradability, you require a lot of people who are doing, apart from market making, they would also require people who want to buy and you want to sell. And that will also require an ISIN matching, because these are different ISINs and your bond will not be required. So a certain amount of yield curve requires to be done. Different kinds of bond issuances of different ratings should be available, where you should have a higher, say, one could be the risk on account of time, another could be credit risk, another could be, so different varieties of bonds to suit different kinds of people are required. And secondary trading, where we are able to explain to the people how to get out and how to get in, which means how do we measure the price of the bonds, and the people understand it intuitively, and then look at the fixed income instrument as essential part of their portfolio. So I think these are some of the challenges that we have to address, and different initiatives we are taking in order to bring it together. So corporate bonds today have developed quite a lot. Many listed companies, and now we have made it also compulsory to, even for a company, even if you have an unlisted, you got to be going for listed bonds going forward. So there is a great deal of that. In fact, many of them, they are not going to the banks, and they are directly raising the money in the market. But it is a secondary market and secondary market liquidity, and people of different ranges, let's stakeholders, retailers and others, who are missing from this market. And that needs to be developed through not only campaigns, but also products, also. So there is a great deal of scope, I would say, in the debt market going forward.
Sir, if I may add, in fact, NISM has been hosting the bi-monthly webinars. There are almost more than 3,000 people every bi-monthly. They join our free webinar, where we explain them the basic nature of this market, what kind of products are available and what kind of trading and dealing opportunities are available. Now almost 3,000 to 4,000 people are joining this webinar to understand this market. So this kind of investor awareness initiative is also being taken jointly for the investors. Sir.
So like this, like what NISM is doing, a lot more needs to be done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Before proceeding with the vote of thanks, I would request Anand to please hand over a memento to Shri Tuhin Kanta Pandey. Friends, you would all agree that Mr. Pandey in his address has given us a complete 360-degree overview of the roles and responsibilities of chartered accountants as well as the corporates vis-a-vis governance. What each of them need to do, what are the initiatives which are taken, how they are trying to ease the burden of doing business, at the same time keeping the interests of all the stakeholders in mind. The most important message, the way I look at it, is that corporate governance should not just be a checklist or a tick in the box, but it has to be implemented not only in letter, but also in spirit. Only then really the true objective and purpose of corporate governance will be achieved. So I can assure you, sir, on behalf of the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, that we are always there with you to support you in whatever initiatives are required. We are always available at your service and at your doorstep. So with that, I would like to proceed with a hearty vote of thanks for a very wonderful address by Mr. Kanta, and carry it with a large round of applause. Thank you.
Friends, we'll quickly start the next session. Please be seated.
Anandji, Zubinji, Kinjalji, esteemed guests, representatives of Bombay Chartered Accountants Society and industry leaders, good evening to you all. It is a privilege to address this gathering of chartered accountants who stand at the forefront of financial discipline, integrity and market confidence in our country. In a world where capital markets are becoming increasingly dynamic, shaped by technological advancements, evolving regulations and global interdependencies, chartered accountants are playing a pivotal role in upholding the financial credibility and transparency in listed companies. In this pursuit, Bombay Chartered Accountants Society has been a torchbearer, not only in promoting technical excellence among CAs, but also in nurturing a values-based approach to financial reporting. The Society's continued investments in capacity building, research and policy dialogue has strengthened the profession from within. Today I would share my thoughts on the importance of corporate governance, the indispensable role chartered accountants play in ensuring that it is upheld in both letter and spirit, and the initiatives by SEBI to further strengthen governance standards across the listed companies. In today's business landscape, corporate governance is not a matter of choice, it's an imperative. It forms the bridge between a company's performance and the trust it earns from its stakeholders. Sound governance practices are central to sustaining investor confidence, ensuring board independence, and enabling effective oversight in listed companies. Chartered accountants play an important role in reinforcing the foundation of corporate governance within companies. Their work extends beyond financial reporting. They serve as vital enablers of transparency, compliance, and ethical conduct in the corporate structure. Indeed, chartered accountants serve as financial custodians of corporate India. You are stewards of trust, a trust that investors, regulators, lenders, and the public place in the financial statements of companies. By ensuring the accuracy and integrity of these statements, you help boards and audit committees make informed decisions based on reliable data. CAs support the establishment and monitoring of robust internal control systems, which are essential for preventing misstatements, fraud, and governance lapses. Transparency in disclosing related party transactions, managing conflicts of interest, and presenting material developments in a timely manner are all non-negotiable responsibilities you are entrusted with, and rightly so. Chartered accountants often serve as a bridge between company management, auditors, and regulators, ensuring that the principles of fairness, independence, and accountability are upheld in both spirit and practice. Your deep understanding of accounting standards, company law, and regulations places you in a unique position to guide boards and management on aligning corporate actions with the broader objectives of stakeholder protection and market confidence. You exercise professional judgment where the rules may not prescribe every scenario and ensure that the decisions are ethically sound, not just legally compliant. Apart from acting as a first line of